Welcome to the deep dive. You're here because, well, you want to get smart fast.
That's the idea.
And today, we're dusting off the fedora, grabbing the whip.
Metaphorically speaking, of course.
Yeah. We're diving into the PlayStation 5 version of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, specifically the premium edition. Maybe you don't have the, 80 hours to play it right now.
Or maybe you do, but you want the quick intel first.
Exactly. You want the inside scoop. And we've got a pretty detailed review here from Texto Collado to work with.
Right. So our job is to basically pull this review apart, figure out what's crucial, see if this game actually feels like Indiana Jones. Does it live up to the legacy?
Let's get right into it then. First impressions. The review says it's a triumphant return, calls it a love letter to fans. That's pretty strong stuff.
It really is, and it sounds like that feeling hits you right from the start. Apparently, the opening is very cinematic, very indie.
Okay, but cinematic can mean a lot of things. What specifically makes it authentic, according to this review?
Well, two things mainly. Harrison Ford's likeness is apparently quite good, but maybe more importantly, his voice acting.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, the review really emphasizes that. Getting that voice right, it just instantly puts you in that world. It carries a lot of weight, especially for people who grew up with the films.
Makes sense. And for those die-hard fans, this premium edition we're looking at has extras, right? Like an art book.
Yep, art book, digital soundtrack, and some early access skins, classic indie looks.
Are those just fluff, or do they actually add value? Sometimes those editions feel a bit thin.
Seems like these genuinely sweeten the deal, as the review puts it. An art book gives you that behind-the-scenes look, the concept art, how it evolved. That's cool stuff.
Yeah, I like seeing that.
And a good soundtrack, especially if it weaves in that iconic theme well. You might actually listen to that outside the game. The outfits are more fan service, sure, but it's a nice nod, lets you customize a bit.
Okay, so the presentation sounds solid. What about the actual adventure? There's a new mystery. Something called the Great Circle.
Yeah, a fresh story, which is good. It revolves around this great circle described as like an ancient network connecting sacred sites across the globe.
Classic indie MacGuffin hunt, then.
Pretty much. It sets up that globe-trotting adventure perfectly. The review mentions 1930s Cairo, the misty mountains of Tibet, really evocative, pulpy settings.
I love it. Does it capture the tone, though? That mix of serious danger and, Indy's dry wit.
That seems to be a big strength, actually. The review says they nailed that balance. The stakes feel real, but indie's still indie, cracking-wise when things get tough.
And there's a new partner.
Right, Sophia Miles. She's an archaeologist, too. Their dynamic is apparently charming, but also challenging.
Okay. So not just a sidekick. Sounds like she pushes back a bit.
That's the impression. Add some potentially interesting character moments, maybe some banter along with the tomb rating.
All right, let's talk gameplay. Action-adventure. What are the core pillars here? Exploration, puzzles, combat.
Exactly. The review suggests they're all pretty well integrated. Exploration-wise, the levels sound large enough to reward you for looking around.
But not like empty open world large.
No, not bloated, is how the review puts it. You find hidden artifacts, journal entries that add lore. Gives you a reason to poke around in corners. Very archaeological.
And the puzzles. Are we talking slide the block nightmares or something more thematic?
More thematic, definitely. Think deciphering ancient scripts, aligning mirrors to bounce light, navigating traps. The review calls them challenging, makes you think, but not, frustratingly obscure.
That's a fine line to walk.
It really is. Sounds like they mostly got it right here. It's about using your wits, like Indy would.
Okay, and combat. Indy's usually more about scrappy survival than Rambo-style action in the movies.
And that's what sounds cool here. It's described as fluid and satisfying, but the emphasis is on improvisation.
Meaning?
Meaning the whip isn't just for swinging, you use it in fights.
Oh, okay. Like tripping people, grabbing weapons.
Exactly. Disarming, tripping, interacting with the environment. The review says it feels like you're encouraged to use what's around you, like in the films. Think bar fights where he grabs a bottle or flips a table.
Yeah.
It's about grit, wits, and a bit of luck. Not superhuman strength. That feels very true to the character.
That does sound right. Okay, shifting gears, slightly visuals and sound. How does it look and feel? PS5 power put to good use.
Seems so. The word stunning is used for the visuals. Lots of praise for detailed environments, the lighting effects.
Like sunlight in temples, that kind of thing.
Precisely. Sunlight through ruins, torchlight in dark caves, creating atmosphere. That stuff really pulls you in.
And the character models. Does Indy look like Indy?
They capture the ruggedness and humanity, apparently. Maybe slightly stylized, but recognizably the characters we know. Getting that look right for such an iconic figure is, well, it's crucial.
Totally. And the sound. Got the theme tune right.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The review says the sound design is top-notch. The iconic theme is woven in effectively, not just slapped on everywhere.
Good.
Plus, excellent voice acting across the board, not just Ford, and really immersive ambient sounds. Markets buzzing, tombs echoing. It builds the world.
Okay, and circling back to those premium edition extras we mentioned earlier, the art book, soundtrack, they sound genuinely worthwhile.
Yeah, the review suggests they add real value, especially for fans. The art book gives insights into development, concept art, commentary.
I always find that stuff fascinating, see how ideas changed.
Me too. And the soundtrack is described as capturing that classic adventure cinema spirit, something you'd actually listen to separately. The outfits are cosmetic, yeah, but a nice nod to Indy's history.
So it's a decent package overall. How does it run technically? On the PS5 specifically, any hiccups?
Performance seems to be a real highlight. Runs beautifully according to the review. The PS5's SSD means basically no load times.
Oh, that's huge for adventure games. Keeps the momentum.
Absolutely. And it hits a solid 60 frames per second in performance mode, which the reviewer preferred for smoother gameplay, especially in action scenes.
Nice. Any use of the DualSense controller features? The haptics?
Yep. Subtle but effective use. Feeling the tension on the whip, the impact of a punch. Those little things add a surprising amount to the immersion. It shows they tailored it for the hardware.
But it can't all be perfect, right? No game is. Did the review mention any criticisms? Any snakes in this particular temple?
Well, a few things. The platforming sections were called out as being a bit finicky sometimes.
Meaning missed jumps. Frustration.
Yeah, occasional missed jumps leading to frustration, especially if it's a timed sequence. That can break the flow a bit.
Okay, what else?
Enemy AI could be a bit weird occasionally. Sometimes they'd, run into traps or just fail to notice Indy when maybe they should have.
Inconsistent AI can definitely pull you out of the experience.
It can. And one other point about the story, which was mostly praised.
Yeah.
The reviewer felt it dragged a little in the third act. There was a section in the Amazon that apparently felt a bit padded out, slowed the pacing down compared to the rest.
Right, maintaining momentum through a whole game is tough.
It really is. So, some minor issues, but nothing that sounded like a deal breaker.
So, taking all that into account, the highs and the minor lows, what's the final verdict from this review? Is the treasure worth finding?
Overwhelmingly, yes. The conclusion is super enthusiastic, calls it exactly what fans have been waiting for.
Wow.
Yeah. A brilliant, heartfelt adventure that captures the movie magic, but with modern gameplay. Cinematic, charming, fun, all those words are in there.
So despite the finicky platforming or the occasional dumb enemy, it's a strong recommend.
Definitely. A must-play for Indiana Jones fans, and highly recommended for anyone who just loves a good action-adventure game. They gave it a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. Okay, that's pretty definitive.
Yeah, the final line sums it up. Grab your fedora, adventure awaits.
All right, so for everyone listening, maybe trying to decide if this one's for them, the key takeaway from this deep dive seems clear. Based on this review, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle on PS5 is a really strong return for the character.
It hits the right notes. Authenticity, fun gameplay that mixes exploration, puzzles, and that signature indie combat. Great visuals, great sound.
While having a couple of, rough edges, like maybe some platforming bits or the AI now and then.
Exactly. Minor stuff in the grand scheme of what sounds like a really passionate project.
So hopefully you feel like you've got the full picture now, the essential insights from this review, without needing to sink in the hours yourself just yet.
Yeah, it gives you a solid grounding in what the game is, its strengths, its weaknesses. And honestly, it sounds like a pretty great adventure to jump into when you do get the chance.
It really does. And, it makes you think, seeing how this game seems to have successfully blended that nostalgia, that reverence for the original, with new ideas for today's gamers.
Yeah.
Well, what other classic adventure franchises could get a similar treatment? What else is out there waiting for that kind of revival? And what would be absolutely crucial to get right if you tried?
That's a really interesting question. Finding that balance between honoring the past and actually innovating for, a modern audience. That's the trick, isn't it?
It really is. Definitely something to ponder. What's that secret ingredient for making old adventures feel new again?